everybody, JC here from Toy News International, and today I'm bringing you another TNI Toy News video where we go over the latest happenings of action figures. And I'm going to hop right into it because we've got a lot of things to cover today. Just announced this morning is a new MAFEX Spider-Man Homecoming figure. This is a 6-inch figure, and it's going to have multiple head sculpts, including an unmasked Tom Holland head. Hopefully the final product will look pretty true to what we see here. The figure also boasts newly designed joints for ultimate posing. Now, I don't know exactly how different the articulation is going to be on this figure over previous MAFEX figures, but that is what it's boasting. And then it's also going to have things like a figure stand. Looks like it's going to have webbing and alternate hands. And there's a third head sculpt that has the squinty eyes, so that's pretty cool. Now this figure is slated with an October 2017 release. It is an import figure, but you should be able to get it at places like Big Bad Toy Store. I imagine if they haven't already, they'll be listing it for pre-order any day now. Also, Figuarts announced today that they too will be doing Homecoming figures. They did not release any details or images of their figures, but did make an announcement that Homecoming figures would be coming from them, from Tomasi Nations, for their Figuarts line. They announced the other week that they would also be doing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 figures. Again, no details as of this time of what exactly they'll be releasing. Also, just breaking today, we got some images that showed up online. I don't know what the original source for these images are, but they're packaged images for two of Mattel's upcoming DC Comic Multiverse Wonder Woman movie figures. So we've got a look at one of the Deanna Wonder Woman figures and then Steve Trevor. And also what's revealed here is that the Collect and Connect figure for this series is going to be Ares. We don't have an actual look at Ares, but you can see on the front of the packaging that is what the Collect and Connect for this series is going to be. Hopefully we'll get some more images, maybe of the back of the packaging will show up soon, or at the very latest we should hear more about these at Toy Fair in a couple weeks. Don't know how many figures are going to be in this wave, what other figures other than these two at this point. So more details should be coming soon. On the Marvel Select front from Diamond Select Toys, we're going to be getting a series of comic book based Guardians of the Galaxy figures. That was announced today. These figures will be released on February 27th. These are Disney Store exclusives, so you can get them at Disney Store, their website, or Marvel.com. And basically it's got all the main Guardians of the Galaxy: Star-Lord, Gamora, Drax, Groot, and Rocket Raccoon. What's cool about these is that they're going to come with diorama pieces that connect together, so that's definitely kind of a cool feature. And they also sport 16 points of articulation, so I wouldn't necessarily call them super articulated, but looks like based on the images and everything, it looks like you can get them in some decent poses. And they're going to have alternate heads, like Star-Lord's got an unmasked head, and he's got little, looks like blast effects that go onto the bottom of his feet, which is cool. And he's got his weapons. So, and Drax has got some kind of axe, laser axe or something like that. So definitely this looks like, if you're a Marvel, or if you're a Guardians of the Galaxy fan or a Marvel Select 7-inch figure fan, these are ones you're going to want to check out. And again, these are going to be released on February 27th, and they're up for pre-order now on Marvel.com's store website. Another announcement on the Marvel front that was made today was, or this week, was Mezco's 112 Collective Deadpool figure. Now, we already knew this figure was coming. We've seen it at like New York Comic Con and San Diego Comic Con, but they released official, promo images and details on the figure. And overall, I think it looks pretty good. I don't have any real complaints with it. I know some of you don't like the kind of cloth outfits that they use with some of these figures, but I think it looks pretty good. Now, it is going to be a little bit on the pricey side. It's going to cost $80, and it's going to be released in August. So that's really the only downside, is a little bit pricey. But you get a lot of accessories and everything, and I think the figures overall are pretty detailed. Early next week, I'm going to be reviewing the new 112 Collective Green Arrow figure, the comic book version, so be sure to tune in for that. And then finally, for news, we also got more images and details for the upcoming Figuarts Dark Knight movie Batman figure. So if you're a fan of the Christian Bale Batman, we've got a pretty cool figure coming from Tomasi Nations. Again, a 6-inch figure. It's going to be released in June. It's going to come with things like a bendable cloth cape, so I guess it's going to have the wiring in it so you can, bend it and pose it and stuff. Different face sculpts, different hands, a grapple gun, batarang, and a grapple shooter. So chock full of accessories like you would expect from SH Figuarts, and definitely I think the detailing, at least based on these promo images, looks pretty good. Now, just one more thing to note on the news front, and I talked about this yesterday in my Marvel Legends video. Toy Fair is coming up. It's less than 3 weeks away. Mark your calendars. It starts February 18th, and that's a Saturday. And Saturday, you can expect coverage from Hasbro, Playmates Toys, so we'll get to see the latest Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Voltron offerings from Playmates. DC Collectibles will be getting a look at all the new products they have on hand. And we can get a final answer. I know some of you have questioned about the Wonder Woman, DC Films Wonder Woman figure. Again, all I can tell you is that a few weeks ago I was informed by DC Collectibles that the figure had not been canceled. But I know some of you seem to think it is still. And so we'll know finally for sure 100% at Toy Fair. It may be that it's canceled and will be resolicited, because definitely I don't think it's coming out on its original release date. But again, I was told that it's not been canceled. But sometimes I get wrong information from even the toy companies, and sometimes things just change. If the sales with the Superman and the armored Batman figure weren't there, then I suppose it's possible that they will go on and cancel it. But being that there's a Wonder Woman movie coming out this year, I kind of think that we're still going to see that figure, even if the sales weren't quite there for the Superman Batman figure. But again, we should know more in a couple weeks at Toy Fair. The Toy Fair coverage will go throughout the week. So Sunday we'll have things like Mattel and Diamond Select Toys, and probably NECA will be either Saturday. We'll get NECA coverage up either Saturday or Sunday, and same with like McFarlane Toys and all the other companies that'll be there. And pretty much almost every company that does main toys and stuff will be there and have new stuff on display. So you'll definitely want to check that out. And the main site obviously is toynewseye.com, but then like for Marvel, it'll be marvelousnews.com is where we'll have our coverage for all the Marvel stuff. For Transformers, tformers.com, and then Star Wars JediInsider.com. So be sure to bookmark all those sites, and again, mark your calendar for Saturday, February 18th, because that's when coverage will begin. And should be fairly early on Saturday, starting off with DC Collectibles. All right, so now I'm going to do another Q&A segment. This seems to be something you guys have really been enjoying, and honestly, I've kind of been enjoying it myself. So again, just like last time, I picked out Q&A questions from last week's news video. If I didn't get to your question this time, then please feel free to ask a question below. Just mark Q&A if you want to try and have it included in the next week's Q&A session, and I'll try and get an answer to your question. But for this week, I've got a number of different questions, and we're going to start off with Ugly Mofo Predator, who asks, what character in Star Wars do you think should have a Black Series figure? Now, I'm assuming you're referring to the 6-inch figures, and the one I think should definitely get one, and I'm hoping we maybe see at Toy Fair this coming month, is the Force Awakens Luke Skywalker figure. Hasbro had said before that the reason why they hadn't released that one yet because they hadn't gotten basically the images and stuff to base the figure on until it was too late to get it out with the rest of the main Force Awakens stuff last year. But hopefully they've had enough time now, and being that I'm sure Luke is going to be playing a major role in the next Star Wars movie, The Last Jedi, I'm hoping that they got that figure ready to go, and again, I'm hoping we'll see it at Toy Fair in a couple weeks. The other figure that I want to see, I've been hoping that we see, and probably the one I particularly would be most excited for, is a Bespin Han Solo. That's always been my favorite version of Han Solo. Johnny Masterson asks, Monsterson I should say, do you have any info on the DC Multiverse Super Friends wave? Today I found Batman and Green Lantern on Walmart Canada, and it says Superman and Aquaman are also in the wave. So I haven't gotten anything official from Mattel. Again, we probably will hear more about this at Toy Fair in a couple weeks. But from what I can tell, these look like they're going to be Walmart exclusives, Right now they're just showing up in Canada, but I imagine they'll start showing up at Walmarts here in the United States pretty soon. We saw the same thing with the Suicide Squad, a couple of the Suicide Squad figures that they released last year that were Walmart exclusives. They showed up first in Canada for some reason and then started showing up here. And it looks like there's 4 figures in the series. None of them come with like a collect a connect build-a-figure piece. And they have little display bases with the little Super Friends logo and stuff on them. And they basically look like they're just repaints of DC-UC figures. The 4 figures, and the 2 that seem to be hitting right now, so I think they're breaking them up in waves of 2. And that's the Green Lantern and the Batman figure, which are showing up at the Walmarts in Canada right now. And I'm imagine soon will show up here in the United States. And then the second wave looks like it's going to be Superman and Aquaman. Noah asks, hey JC, have you seen the Transformers Last Night trailer? Yes, I have, and Noah was not impressed with it. As I mentioned before, I think in last week's video, when someone asked me about Transformers, I've not been terribly impressed with any of the Transformer movies beyond the first one. I did enjoy the first Transformers, the movie. I did like that one. I like the story. I don't like the designs of the Transformers, never have, but I did like that first movie. But ever since then, it was basically downhill, and the last one was not very good at all. And from what I've seen from this trailer, which looks kind of confusing, I've not been impressed. Kylo Ren fan asks, which superhero movie that comes out this year do you look forward to seeing the most? So the one I probably look forward to seeing the most is the Justice League movie. Despite not being a huge fan of Batman versus Superman, I am, from the trailer that we saw and stuff, I am actually kind of excited for Justice League. I like Suicide Squad movie, and actually the extended version of Batman versus Superman I thought was a little bit better. So that movie's grown on me a little bit, but definitely I've got hopes for a good Justice League movie. Knock on wood, or keeping my fingers crossed. Hopefully that will be the case. And then I guess to put it in order, I'm looking towards the Justice League movie, and then I would say next I'm looking forward to Spider-Man Homecoming, then Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and then Wonder Woman. Red Leaf Boomer asks, what do you think the chances are that some company will make Conan the Barbarian figures? Well, I would say that if a new movie ever happens, and there has been rumors of a Conan movie being done that Arnold Schwarzenegger has actually been rumored to be attached to. In fact, Arnold Schwarzenegger made a tweet, I think sometime last year, about, being excited for it. But it's one of those movies that seems to like where you hear something and then it just kind of drops off and you don't hear anything. So, I don't know if that movie's actually going to happen, but if it does, then I would say the chances of new action figures coming is very good. If not, then probably not so much. I mean, there are companies here and there that have been doing statues and stuff. I believe Pop Culture Shock just did a Conan statue last year, and maybe Sideshow or somebody has done one recently. And then there has been action figures in the past. You mentioned in your question the Marvel one from Toy Biz. Not Marvel really, but the line of figures, independent comic figures that Toy Biz did after they stopped doing Marvel Legends, and Conan was in that, I think. And then I believe NECA and both McFarlane have done Conan figures in the past. Not very articulated ones, but have done action figures in the past, I believe. But in order to see new actual action figures, I would imagine it'll take a movie to actually go into production before we see that. And it's really hard to tell at this point if that's going to happen or not. Kylo Ren fan gets a second question, because this actually I thought was a pretty good question. And he asks, does the unmasked head for the Marvel Legends Civil War Black Panther figure fit on the new Walmart one? And the answer is yes, it does. I have it right here. You can see that I've got the unmasked head on there, and it does fit on there pretty good. It's kind of hard to get it on there with the cape, but it does fit on there. So if that's something you'd like to have, an unmasked head for your new Black Panther figure when you get your hands on it, then it will fit. Claudia asks, does the Flash character appeal to you, and do you like him? Well, you can see from my shirt here that he does. He's actually one of my favorite DC characters. And mainly because I like to run. I do triathlons, Ironman distance triathlons, and marathons, and I've actually qualified for Boston with a time of 3:07, and I would actually at some point like to shoot for a 3-hour marathon time. And so because I like to run and everything, I think I kind of relate to the character. He kind of inspires me to run sometimes. So definitely he is one of my favorites, and I do very much like the Flash. And then finally, Cody asks, do you know if we're still going to get the John Constantine for DC Icons? So I'm not aware of any Constantine figure for DC Icons. I think maybe you're referring to the TV series one that was announced last year for the Arrow TV series, because he made an appearance in Arrow. And as far as I know of, none of the TV series figures that were announced have been canceled. So that figure should be coming. I believe last time I checked it was slated for sometime in May. Those release dates generally fluctuate a lot, so I wouldn't swear on that, but last time I checked I do think it was listed with a May release. And like I said, as far as I know of, there's been no indication that any of those TV series figures have been canceled. Alright, so that wraps up this edition. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, if you do have a question, be sure to ask it below. I'll try and include it in next week's news video. And until next time, guys, I will catch you later.